Raghav Miatal, welcome to On Vijay's playlist. First of all, how have you been, my friend?
Thank you so much, Vijay. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. It's been so long. I remember we done this last interview with Kalyani,
Yes.
right? And that was a really, really nice experience. And I want to personally thank you for being so encouraging and supporting of my music through all these years, through all the ups and downs. So thank you so much. We all know how much you contribute to the independent music scene in the country. And more power to you. Thank you for having me.
Well, to say that the pleasure is mine also is like, oh God, it's a bit of a. I mean, let's continue further before I get carried away any further. Um, First of all, Raghav, uh, when I think of how you were one of the few musicians who released an entire album that was crowdfunded. When I think of your journey from songs from a matchbox to now, am I overthinking this? I see a complete evolution in the artist. Uh, when I was reading the lyrics of Am I Overthinking This Now on my way back home, my first thought was, I want to get into the mind space of this person and just reflect upon how your journey has been from the time you first quit your job, your marketing job back in Bangalore, to pursue something that has always been so close to you, that's something you've really grown up on, that's something you've harbored for so many years. Uh, when you look back at that journey in retrospect, Raghav, what is the first feeling or the first thought that strikes you?
I think I'm pretty. I think it's the best decision that I ever made. It was also the gutsiest thing I've done. But I think I'm really proud of everything that I've managed to do. It's one of those things where I really wanted to do something and I followed through with it. Um, I think in the last 5.5, 6 years of being in Bombay, uh, I've literally lived this life to the fullest in terms of just surrounding myself with music, surrounding myself with people and watching different artists. And my life has been this, right? And it's one of those things of sometimes you take a call in your life where you're not so sure. You don't know where that road is going to take you, but you still got to continue backing yourself up through all the ups and downs. And I feel like I just feel proud of the smallest things that I've managed to achieve in this journey. And I feel like there's a long way to go, because the way I look at my music career is also that I'm sort of in no hurry. I know that this is a skill that I've developed over the years, even before I sort of started out as a singer-songwriter. So it's been nearly 12 years of me writing songs and trying to hone my crafts. And I think it's a long road ahead. And I just want to keep doing it because I really enjoy doing it. There's no other reason for doing it. Um, and that's what makes me stick to my guns in terms of knowing that uh, this is something I really enjoy doing, and it comes from a sort of pure place where I know that I do it for myself more than anything else.
I want us to bounce back to that little TED talk that you gave way back, I guess, in 2017 or 2018, where
Yeah.
you really spoke about the three facets that all major life decisions depended on. One being creativity, something that enhances creativity. Second is gaining exposure, and third is having money in the bank. Um, and also, just basis on that, I would like to go back to an Instagram post I came recently, which I also happened to share on my story, which says, "You're still an artist if you chose a different path. You're still an artist if you fell back onto something for sustainability. And you're still an artist if you're just doing it as a hobby." Uh, what do you opine about, when time and again uh, people are constantly judged, or they're constantly under scrutiny for how they choose to tread this path of between choices and between security?
Yeah. No, I think it's always tricky as an artist because there is no real path that you can follow and have a guaranteed sort of formula of finding success in this industry. And I think that's why everybody has a different journey in this path. Some people uh, find it easier than the rest. Some people find it faster than the rest. And I think it's a culmination of these three things, where at least two, I try and look at it as at least satisfying two of the things out of the three. Right? It's very, I think, very, very lucky, and few people find that sense of balance of finding maybe creative satisfaction with money and exposure at the same time. But I think not everybody ends up being that lucky, and whatever path you want to take to achieve what makes you happy at the end of the day is probably the right decision, right? And I think I grappled with that back in 2019, where I felt like I needed to take that call of maybe doing music, doing the kind of music that I really didn't want to do, or doing it for the sake of it to be able to pay my bills, right? And I felt like I wanted to take that call of just sticking to my guns and doing the kind of music that I really want to do, right? And that's what prompted me to go ahead and get a day job. And it's been nearly 3 years of me working at a music label. And it's also leveraging some of the skills that I learned as an artist, and it also sort of feeds the uh, label executive artist kind of ecosystem for myself. But I think the call I took was essentially to not have the pressure of making money just yet, in terms of playing the more long-term game of doing music that you like and doing it for a longer span of time, than trying to find that quick fame through stuff that I wouldn't have been maybe necessarily proud of. Right. So at that juncture, I felt like I was at a crossroads back then, where I decided to take that call to pursue it. But I think everybody has their own way, right? If doing certain kind of music is something that is exciting to another person, because some people might just really love being on stage, regardless of the kind of music they're doing. And I mean, I think that's a great call that they take for themselves. So I think the end of the day, it's these three things that I try and gauge most of my decisions by. Right. And sometimes you don't end up getting all three, which is why you need to meander in that path to try and find what makes you happy at the end of the day.
So well said. I think, Raghav, if we, now for our viewers who are watching, and for those artists who actually want to, fall back on a plan B, I remember, in that TED talk, you also mentioned how when you were when you were a participant on the stage, um, plan B was an advice you got from Monica Dogra back then, where she said that, if plan A is, if it doesn't work out, create a plan B such that you can always fall back onto. So when one
Yeah.
looks at your journey, and one also sees that you're now enabling so many wonderful talents across the country through your initiatives with Big Bang Music, the record label that you're a part of, uh, how do you look at something that you're also doing to sustain yourself, but also at the same time you feel it strengthens you to be that medium for an artist also to make the crossover?
So I think it's tricky. Actually, what Monica said was don't have a plan B, uh,
Okay.
which is what made me sort of quit my job and move to Bombay.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily think of sort of my day job in the music business to be sort of a plan B, because I'm still in that same ecosystem, still talking to the same kind of stakeholders. Still, I feel like a lot of my work at the label also helps my artist career musically and from a business standpoint as well.
Right.
Uh, but I think uh, what it really makes me sort of do, what I end up doing at the label, is essentially also give artists that time. I feel like that becomes really hard in terms of when you're sort of a full-time musician. You always feel that time is running out, and you're
Yeah.
always sort of running against time to make it happen. And what I've been trying to sort of do at the label is also give artists that time and that breathing space to be able to find their sound, find their space in the industry, which sometimes as independent artists you struggle with. Right. So just kind of a support system that the artist continues making their music, but there are other things that somebody as passionate tries and takes care of for you, right? And I think that's what I try and do at the label. And it's I find it really fascinating to see working with some of these really young artists who are just starting out and probably need that advice, because I think when I was starting out, if somebody had told me that don't be in such a rush and uh, things take time for them to happen, I think it would have been great advice. So that's what I try and do with a lot of these artists, where I try and show them the bigger picture, the longer sort of run, where if they consistently do stuff, I mean, you are going to bear fruits for all the hard work that you've put in. So I think from my lens, I just try and show them the big picture and not burn out in 2 years by trying to do everything.
You pretty much summed it up. Raghav, coming back to Am I Overthinking This? When I first heard the song, and basis on the lyrics also that I read, given the press note that you shared, I was left, it actually felt like as if somebody pierced a bit, out of me, because you're aware that I've just joined my new day job very recently. It's not even been a month actually. But I quit my long time radio job of 5 years and I sat home for 5 months. And only I know what did that space mean to me, where I was constantly, at loggerheads between the head and heart. There were these decisions that I was constantly second guessing myself. Uh, it was not a very pleasant space to be. Uh, so when I mean, what I want to ask you is when you're writing a song that, um, like I said, that really, you know, literally, kind of pokes a hole into your, drains a hole into your heart all over again. What kind of mental space were you in when you were writing the song, and how much of your own personal experiences are ingrained into it?
It's all personal over there. The song is completely like, it's literally like, I mean, I end up writing pretty often. In fact, 2-3 years ago, I would write every single day. And this is a song, it's just a bunch of lines that I written back in 2018, right? And because I've been in a good space for now, I think nearly 1.5 years, though it's still work in progress. And I feel like it's all about managing your sort of mental health and just being aware that you are prone to certain vulnerabilities. But at the same time, I feel like when I was writing it, I was in a good space, which is why I was able to write it and like sort of look back at some of these lines that I'd written in the past to be able to make it happen. But like you said, in 2018, I was constantly second guessing myself, right? I was in my head a lot. I just felt like I just couldn't get anything right. You know what I mean? And which is what I think the song is about, in terms of you feel so lonely, you don't know what is right. So at one point you think you're working really hard, but you also feel like you might be overcompensating for something.
Yeah.
You might feel burnt out, but it might be a result of something else. So I think I wanted to write the song to resonate what I was feeling and at that point. And it's crazy because like the kind of messages I've gotten, I literally got a message from somebody saying I was going to do something really drastic and I heard your song at 3 a.m. and I decided to change my mind and stuff like that. And it's crazy. I mean, I think as an artist, I think the real satisfaction comes from really having an impact on people's lives. And I think when you see such messages, people sort of like, I mean, the beautiful things that you said. I think as long as I know that there are other people sort of who feel the same way or have felt the same way, it sort of feels more comforting. But I think when I wrote it, I was in a better headspace, which is why I was able to write a song like this, because otherwise it would have been a downward spiral. So yeah, but it's all personal. It's literally every single line is something that I felt like I was going through, and that's why I decided to write the song.
Well, I think that's the beauty of art, Raghav. And really, God bless your wonderful soul. You actually managed to save a life, with your music. And they, like you rightly said, gratifying is too small a word. It can't get more humbling than that. Uh,
Yeah.
let's speak about the support and just the presence of loved ones in your life, because one of my personal favorite songs of last year, Unicorn and the Sheep, also came from a very personal space where you wrote it for your wonderful girlfriend, keeping her in mind. You actually depicted how your relationship rolls out through that song. uh, and you have an amazing family. Anybody who even looks at your Instagram can tell that, where does this happy space come from. You're blessed with the cutest nephew, and you have an adorable four-legged friend. So how humbling, and you know um, how much you cherish the presence of the loved ones around you.
No, absolutely. I think big support system. I think choosing a path like music also ends up being quite a toll mentally, or on sort of, I think it comes with any sort of artistic or creative pursuit. And I feel just having a strong backbone or a support system really helps in those times when you're really doubting yourself. So I think, in fact, like I wrote a song called She Can for my sister, and I think she's and my brother-in-law Nikhil have been a really, really big support system for me also. In my sort of I don't think I would have survived 6 years in Bombay uh, without them, because they live like a kilometer away, and it's really, really nice. And sometimes when you're just like, you've had an off day, and sometimes it's without reason as well, you just sort of meet them, and it's all good, that it's all in your head, at some point. So I think even when I was sort of going through this, when I was constantly overthinking things, I think they played a really significant role in making things better. So yeah, I think my mother, my sister, uh, my girlfriend, I think all of these guys play a really, really big part of um, just supporting and being there for each other. And I think that's what families do. And I think it's great to have these close people around. And hopefully, I'll write a song about each one of them by the end of it.
uh, you just spoke about how Bombay really tested you as an artist, and more importantly as an individual, and that's something you also try to cover in your in your single city life. uh, so many of us, uh, whether we are artists or not, or just individuals, looking and contemplating at the city, go by, pass by us every minute. Everyone has a perspective about Bombay. How has the city shaped you as a person and an artist? How do you hold Bombay as a muse?
I think Bombay's been, I think it's a tough city. And I think what tough situations do to people is that they also, as a result, make you tough. And I think that's what I value the most about a city like Bombay, where uh, I think everybody around you has their fair share of problems, and there's no time for sort of wallowing or trying to sort of I don't know. I think it's more about like people just having that attitude and that culture of just getting out every day and doing what it takes to sort of be in the city. And I think that teaches you a lot, because I've lived in three different cities through my sort of professional and early sort of childhood, and Bombay is like no other. Uh, right. And now when I go back for even a week, I sort of get impatient, because Bombay is just that kind of city um, which makes you fall in love with it for how hard it is, right? But at the same time, it teaches you so much that you can't stay away from it. And I think that's what city life is about. But I think it's about finding that beauty in that tough environment is what makes Bombay so special. Yeah.
Since you mentioned you've shifted three cities, and for those of our viewers who do not know, you're talking about Delhi, Bangalore, and Bombay. Three diverse cities, three diverse cultures, and when it comes to independent talents, independent Indian music talents, oh my God, it's a whirlpool out there in all three cities. All three have very different dynamics and very different cultures. So just as uh, you know, a fly on the wall. How do you view the, the different influences that each city brings, and the Indian music artists hold? I mean, do you see any difference, or is there a common connect?
I think the common connect is that I think the people in these different cities who are doing music and making music and facilitating music in terms of bar owners, managers, etc., are all beautiful people. I think everybody is trying in their own way, in their own sort of shapes and forms, in their own sort of little bubbles of their own, trying to make a career, make ends meet, better their lives, and just making better music, right? And I think uh, I'm so proud that in the last 2 years or so, and I think we're just getting started here, but look at the way the independent scene is blowing up, right? And I think
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of it, because uh, for the longest time we've been talking about how this is the future, and I feel like it's finally here, right? And it's coming together. It maybe took a freaking pandemic for it to happen, but it eventually did end up happening, and I think that's the most amazing part, because I think regardless, and I think the indie scene, which is also so beautiful now, is that it's gone beyond the Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bombay, and Delhi's of the world. It's now in Bhopal, it's in Indore, and it's in
The
all
tier
of
two
these
cities.
sort of
Yes.
different metros. People from different. I see like people gigging in Ranchi. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, because uh, uh, it's one of those things. It's something that we all should be really proud of, right? Because earlier you would just expect like these mainstream Bollywood acts to be going around different sort of smaller towns in the country and gigging, because the fan base wouldn't be there for some of these independent artists. And now you see all of these independent artists going to sort of 14, 15 city tours in the country, and their music actually reaching them. They're having actual fan bases, fandoms in these smaller towns. So I think it's no longer just a 3 or 4 or 5 city phenomena.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we should all be really proud of, because we've been sort of talking about this for the longest time, and it's finally happening, and there's no stopping it anymore. It's only going to grow, and you'll probably see artists doing 30 city tours very, very soon.
Godspeed, and really touch wood. Raghav, also at Big Bang Music, you all have had the opportunities to release music that features Tiger Shroff, that features Sonakshi Sinha. Do you think somewhere mainstream also is, like, like we are talking about how the audience in general have finally embraced, and it's really provided a huge opportunity for independent music. Do you think somewhere even mainstream also has finally woken up from its slumber and is actually looking at how is actually looking towards firstly being more creative in their process of making music? Do you think they are more open to newer ideas, newer energies?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the lines have blurred. I think that's the biggest thing. Uh, when you talk about some of the bigger labels also talking about independent music, indie, etc., I think that's what's the most beautiful thing, where Bollywood, be it mainstream OTT platforms, etc., look at the soundscapes that are being used in some of the most commercial films now, and
Yeah,
I think that's the beauty of it, where those lines are actively getting blurred, because
yeah,
indie no longer means niche.
yeah,
It no longer means low budget. It's just a result of how many fans you've got, right? And you could have some of the biggest Bollywood releases with very few listeners, and you can have indie releases with many large listeners, which can compare to some of the bigger Bollywood acts and have some of the bigger fandoms. So I think those lines are really blurring, and I think
yeah,
that's going to be the most exciting thing in the next couple of years, because you would see a lot of these crossovers happening. I think internationally, look at the market. I think a lot more Indian artists you'll see sort of crossover to doing more global stuff, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's just starting out. You see Tesha blowing up sort of everywhere, even though he might be sort of always be a Canada-based artist. But look at the Punjab scene. There are sort of Punjab-based artists sort of crossing over. I think AP is a great example of
absolutely.
literally going Punjabi music, going sort of taking the international scene. stage by storm. Diljit doing sort of these world tours and stuff. So I think a lot is changing. Ultimately, Diljit is also a mainstream sort of maybe a film actor, sort of uh, doing music completely independently, regardless of a label or not. So I think lots of exciting stuff, and you'll see a lot more of these lines getting blurred in the next couple of years, because I think at the end of the day, it is a business, right? It might be the business of independent music, but it is a business. And whenever you see opportunity in places, there are more people who sort of come to sort of take over or grab that sort of opportunity. And I think that's what is happening currently, and it's only going to get bigger in the next few years.
The more the lines get blurred, the merrier it is for us as listeners, because uh, we would like to hear mainstream music hopefully talk about mental health in their music, uh, and issues that are actually relevant to us. I mean, we are done with the party culture songs. We are done with the same narratives being doled out through music. So fresher perspectives, fresher ideas, and fresher energies, we are all for that. Congratulations, Raghav, once again. And I will not be surprised if 2022 year-ender list do not feature Am I Overthinking This? It's an amazing song. And before I even recommend my viewers watching this to listen to that song, I would first recommend all of you to please check out Raghav's TED Talk on YouTube. And I hope it helps you gain a new perspective towards life, towards the towards the decisions that you are contemplating. Um, Thank you, Raghav, so much for talking to me, and more power to you, my friend.
Thank you. More power to you too.
Thank you so much.